Yeah.
Now you're going. Okay. All right, keep going.
Christina, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Christina. I'm a fourth year health education and behavior. Yeah, and I'm on the pre-PA track.
I'm Peyton. I'm a fourth year at the University of Florida. I'm majoring in public relations. I'm graduating undergrad this semester, and I'm starting my master's program in audience analytics in the spring.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm a senior at Duke University in North Carolina, double major in history and public policy with a minor in political science, and I'm currently in the process of applying to law school.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Do you guys have any questions to start? If not, I'm going to ask the question.
What college is the first or the top left?
Christina.
She goes to UF.
I go to UF, yeah.
Cool.
All right. So, like I said, you guys want to start with any questions? Sadie, what's up? How did being in the diploma program or IB in general impact your first 2 years of college?
The first 2 years specifically.
Yeah.
I guess I can start with that. I think specifically IB really helped me get a lot of credits coming into college. I came in with about 41 or 43, I can't remember at this point. But that really enabled me to be able to pick a major when I felt the time was right. So I changed my major 4 times my freshman year, very indecisive person. But really having that leeway and those credits allowed me to make that decision, when I felt the time was right. And then they also enabled me, once I did find the major that I loved, which is information systems, to graduate early. So like Peyton, I'm also getting my bachelor's December 18th, which is a semester early. And then I will be a full-time master's student in the spring, also for information systems with a concentration in data science.
Yeah, and then looking at it from a different perspective as well, getting the credits is super important, especially if you're going to, like, for example, UF or Florida State. You do have that opportunity to maybe graduate early, declare your major a little later. But for me, if you're going out of state, at least at Duke, my university does not accept high school credits as college credits. So even though I didn't have those classes for credit once I got to college, I still think IB was so helpful. I mean, more so than anything else. And I mean, this isn't just because Ms. Jones was organizing this. I think learning how to write properly, how to write a good research paper, how to analyze a source, that's so important. And I mean, no matter what you end up studying in college, like Christina, she wants to go to PA school. She still had to write in college a fair bit. It doesn't matter what you end up studying. And so it's great to have that skill. And like, for example, the extended essay, it's so good to have that experience behind you and to know how to write a substantial paper before you get to college and then have to figure it out.
Yeah, and to going off of what Caroline says, college, especially the first 2 years, is such a big transitionary time, and a lot of things you're getting used to, being on your own away from your parents, adjusting to new groups of people. But something that I didn't find that was a major adjustment was the academic rigor of college. I found that it was a pretty seamless transition from what was expected of me in the IB program to what was expected of me in my first couple of years of college. I had some peers who didn't do a program like IB, and when they were tasked with writing essays or the rigor of preparing for hard exams, they would complain and be like, this is the most stress I've ever been in my entire life. And I felt that some of the stress and the expectations of the IB program properly prepared me for the expectations my professors expected of me right when I started at university. So the academic transition of college definitely was the least of my problems in terms of adjusting to university.
I completely agree. And a lot of my classes are heavily writing based. So I was able to like get through those classes pretty easily, and like I'd be able to write my essays in like half the amount of time as my friends and everything, because I had that writing like under my belt, and that allowed me to focus more time on my hard science classes, which was really helpful because I am a science major. So I was able to focus more on my pre-PA track and all of those hard classes and not have to worry so much about the writing or any of those other gen ed classes.
Other questions? I'll ask, what is a piece of advice that you would give them, because you know the experience that they're having right now, what would be a piece of advice that you would give them as a diploma program student?
Go Peyton. Go Peyton. You look like you want to say
Me?
Peyton.
I don't even know. Literally just enjoy it as much as possible. Like I remember when I was in IB and I would complain all the time, but life is hard. Like IB is hard, college is hard, our jobs are going to be hard. Like this is like what it is. And you're in this program for a reason, because you want to be the best of the best and you want to be in the most competitive programs possible. So just enjoy the community you're in. Like when I look back on high school, I don't think of the times I was complaining about my teachers or complaining about my workloads. I look back on the friendships I've made and the friendships I still have from the IB program, and how so just enjoy it as much as possible and know that everything you're doing right now is just going to greatly benefit your future and help you in the long run.
Completely agree. Like I would say that going through IB and like having all of like the hard times, like staying up late studying and like all the times that I would complain so much, but I don't even think about that anymore. And it was all worth it in the end. And I met my best friends. Like we still talk all the time. I mean, we're all here. So like I wouldn't have met them if it wasn't through the IB program. And I think all of the hard work really brought us more together because we all have the same goals. And I know everyone is just as driven as I am. So it really brought me to more like-minded individuals, which I really like.
I think my biggest advice would be that it's okay to be disgruntled with the program. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be stressed out. But the reality is you made this choice. Again, paralleling what Peyton was saying earlier, you want to be the best of the best. And in order to be the best of the best, you have to work extremely hard. And when you have that unparalleled work ethic, it really sets you up for success in the future. But you know, you're allowed to feel those feelings. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to, you know, cry. I had my fair share of tears in the program, but the reality is it was your decision. And I think that in itself tells you a lot about you as a person and you as a learner. You really want to set yourself up for success and, you know, maybe go to a top 20 college, you know, but I think that embracing the stress, embracing the, you know, the disgruntled attitude is really important, and to feel those negative feelings as well as the positives.
Yeah, I guess I would just echo what Peyton said at the beginning, and that's that, you know, IB is very much worth it. One, you get this close-knit community. We're all still very close. We're still very close with a lot of other people from our program, and that's something that most of my other college friends can't say about their friends from high school. And so that's special. Two, realistically, IB is going to give you amazing preparation for college. I don't care where you're going. You could be going to, you know, State College of Florida. You might be going to USF, maybe UF, maybe you're going to Harvard. I don't know. No matter where you end up, you're going to have those foundational skills in a variety of disciplines. And that's so helpful to have that background. And I mean, it's also great because when you think about it, if you are trying to go to one of these top colleges, you either need to be taking a ton of AP classes or you need to be doing IB. And the beautiful thing with IB is you have that built-in support network of all of the teachers at Venice who really care about you. You have your classes for the most part pretty laid out. So that's, you know, a way that you don't have to be stressed. And so I guess it's just taking the bad with the good. Like, yes, you will be stressed sometimes, but like we've all said, I mean, that doesn't really get better with college. So it's good preparation and it makes you realize you can do it and it will be okay.
And I think you all really need to rely on one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like hold each other's hands through this process, you know, again, establish that network that you can fall back on. I think it's really important to maintain that community while you're doing, you know, these hard assignments like the extended essay. Don't be afraid to reach out to your friends to ask for help or the teachers to ask for help. Really, it's so important to rely on that network during this time.
So you know they're all holding hands now. I'm actually not kidding. They really are holding hands. Hi, girls. Dr. B's
Oh
here.
For those of you who may not know, those 4 girls are like those 3. There's one who's missing, but they are like my biological daughters. So they know that.
I was texting her last night
And this morning.
and this morning.
You guys come up with a question, or I can keep asking.
Did any of you guys study abroad throughout your first 4 years?
What do you say?
Study
Study
abroad.
abroad. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
3 of us did actually. Abby, do you want to start maybe?
Yeah, was there a follow-up question to that, or were you just asking where we studied?
Well, I mean, I was just gonna about your experience, because IB is very internationally minded, so international study.
Yeah, I had the incredible opportunity to study abroad and intern in Dublin, Ireland. That UF is very good about, trying to push you to study abroad. It was an incredible opportunity. I interned at a small nonprofit organization, and really immersing myself in the high context culture of Dublin was something that is very polar opposite of the US low context culture. Dublin and Ireland in general is very relationship oriented, so you had to figure out how to tailor your communication skills to your peers, and I had just a wonderful time there. I think if any of you have the chance to study abroad, do it, and I would do it the summer after your freshman year, because it just gets busier and busier the longer you're in college, and I think that's the opportune time to do it.
I agree. I think, yeah, because after your freshman summer, you don't have as many obligations, but the summer after your sophomore year, junior year, you're going to be doing internships, working a lot to prepare yourselves either for grad school or for applying to post-grad jobs. So by doing it after your freshman year, it's the best time. And I studied abroad in Florence, Italy for 6 weeks, and the UF in Florence program is amazing. Just to echo what Abby said, UF is very pro pushing you to study abroad. And it was just the most unbelievable 6 weeks. I stayed in an authentic Italian apartment. I took, honestly, it wasn't that educational program. I took a class on eating and drinking wine, but it was still an unbelievable experience. And it's just so great to, immerse in other cultures. And you learn just a lot of skills about, transferable skills about communicating with people and other demographics that you can use for when talking and applying to other internships and other jobs.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I studied abroad in Oxford, England, had the time of my life. We all actually went at the same time. We all studied abroad this summer after our freshman year. And like UF, Duke is very, very internationally focused and really encourages their students to study abroad. So it was a pretty straightforward process getting there, which is good. My experience was a little different than Peyton's. We joke about this all the time. I had a ton of work, which, that's okay. It was at Oxford. It's very cool. But honestly, more so than the academic focus, I think the importance of study abroad is just in expanding your cultural mindedness. And that sounds very oh, well, duh, you're studying in another country. But just getting used to different societal norms in a different part of the world, it's very cool. I mean, just grocery shopping in England, for example, so different than in the US. And it's small things like that, learning how to operate I don't know, the train system in another country. It really helps you to become more independent, especially at the beginning of your college career. So I would completely encourage anyone who's considering studying abroad to go. Absolutely.
I do want to tell you all, any of you who are involved with InSpot, it is this graduating class of 2018 that started InSpot, and Abby Van Sickle is really the person who started with trying to get our students in the IB program to be proactive to solve some of the challenging issues of the program. So the whole reason, almost all the InSpot people are in the room. So that all goes back to you and your lovely class, who will always be memorable for being guinea pigs for a lot of our IB part of the program, but also very instrumental in making it a much better place as we move forward.
You guys are welcome.
So can you remember the time when you went, and now I see how IB helped me?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can go first. Miss Jones, I think I told you this story when Christina and I visited the winter break after our freshman year of college. So at Duke, I enrolled in a history course my freshman fall, and our midterm exam, we had, I want to say it was 48 hours. It might have been a little bit more than that. So about 2 days, we were given 2 prompts and we had to write 2 14-page research papers in 2 days. And that was a midterm exam. And, you know, I will be very honest, at a school like Duke, there are a lot of kids that come from private school educations, boarding schools, some of the top public schools in the United States. So they're very much prepared for that type of workload. And I remember being like, I'm so glad I did IB and I did the extended essay and I know how to write this paper and get it done, because I have no idea what I would have done if, you know, the longest piece of writing that I'd ever done in high school was like 3 pages. That would have been a terrible experience. And that's not to say that everyone in college is going to have to write like 28 pages in 2 days. You probably won't. That might have just been me being really unlucky. But if you have that experience, and you will, to some degree, you will have to write a longer paper of some sort, you know, even if it's like a biology report, what have you, whatever subject area you're in, you will be glad that you have some idea of how to go about doing that. I promise you. I think we have all had that moment at least once where we are glad that we know how to actually write a paper. It's important. And that sucked. It was not fun, but I got through it. It was okay.
I would say one of the main times where I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful I did IB is just when I was looking at planning my schedules for the future and saw, like, with the amount of credits I came in with, how much it saved me from taking classes that, like, gen eds, that would have been a waste of my time and money. I didn't have to take a foreign language because I was able to get all of my foreign language through IB Spanish. And at UF, with my specific major, I'm required to take 3 classes of Spanish. So I got to avoid all of those classes completely. And I was able to take about like 12 credits a semester, which some people don't have that luxury and have to take a lot more. And even with me taking like the bare minimum expectation credits, I'm still graduating early. So I just think being able to take less classes so I can focus on those classes and earn as good of grades as possible, not having to take a bunch of gen ed classes that waste your time and you're going to be like, why am I taking these classes? These classes are so pointless. That's one of the moments where I was like, I'm so grateful I did IB because it just made my college experience. I spent all my time for the most part focusing on the important classes that are actually going to help me in my career.
I think with the IB program in particular, you have to be, you know, very scrappy and gritty. And I think that when you're balancing, you know, 7 different subjects, you know, external opportunities, like some of you are probably shadowing doctors or, you know, interning somewhere, or you're involved in a million organizations, or you play sports, having to balance all of that is incredibly insane. But being able to, you know, come home from a long day of school and practice and, you know, grind out that essay or get your homework done is imperative. And in college, you don't have that routine of, you know, 7 to 2:30. You really have to go at your own pace and carve out your schedule in a way that's going to make you successful. And being able to be gritty and scrappy and, you know, involve yourself in a million organizations on campus is also really important, on top of, you know, getting good grades. Spending time with friends, that balance that you establish now is really important for the future.
For me, my answer is a little different. I feel like IB gave me a lot of confidence, and it just really allowed for me to like know that I'm able to do all of these hard classes and balance. I did gymnastics at the time, so I balanced being a full-time athlete as well, and like going to school and everything. So then when I came to college, like I had the confidence that I would be able to do the same thing here. So the adjustment period was not like as bad as some of my friends had. And also the classes I thought were also a lot easier for me than my friends, because I already knew that from IB, like I had the abilities to be able to do these classes. So then I did. And like it was just as easy as I would have hoped it would have been. And then when the harder classes did begin to build up, I still had the confidence that I knew how to study. I developed those studying techniques in high school. So it just transcended right into college, and it was a pretty all smooth transition.
So girls, do you want to talk a little bit, just segueing from what Christina was just talking about, how the skills that are part of the IB program overall, like building your self-confidence, like being very comfortable with other people, how has that specifically translated into leadership opportunities that you've been able to take from Venice High School into the college setting? Okay. Why don't you talk about some of the leadership positions that you have in your organizations and in your workplaces?
I think just because of IB and how everyone is such a good support system, and all of my friends would push me like, oh, Peyton, apply for like sorry, I was fumbling my words. But in IB, everyone would always be like, Peyton, apply for this position in a club, like be president of this, be like on exec of this. It allowed me to gain like a lot of strong leadership skills that made my leadership in college so much more easier to achieve. And I had a lot more confidence in my ability to be a leader in college because of IB. And during my time at UF, I'm just finishing up my term as an executive member on my sorority's executive council. And I feel like because of the leadership in IB and how everyone always pushes you to be the best versions of yourselves, it pushes you to apply for all these positions. Because of all of my leadership in high school, I felt confident to be a leader in college as well. And through my internships and my orgs, I served on exec of almost every club I was involved in college. Or I like got promoted in different clubs I was in. And I knew that because I was like a go-getter, and I never felt afraid to push myself to the fullest in IB and with the clubs I was in IB. So then in college, those skills became incredibly transferable as well. And I was never afraid to apply for the bigger positions, get the promotions in other clubs, be on exec of this club.
Peyton is 5 feet tall, but really a force to be reckoned with.
I also think the well-roundedness of the IB program is very reminiscent of a college course, in the sense that, at least from what I'm remembering of IB classes, you have, longer term papers, you have to do some oral presentations, there's group work, there's obviously homework as well, there's exams. And so I think you develop as an individual at a greater rate than maybe you would if you were taking other sorts of classes in high school, because alongside all of those different types of projects in your classes, you're also having other, aspects of the IB program to work on as well. So like, I think it's called CAS, right? Is that right? It's called CAS. Yes, that's a thing. You have your extended essay. You're getting really connected with your teachers in a way that you might not have the opportunity to do so if you weren't in the IB program, because you have very dedicated teachers and you're very lucky in this program. So take advantage of that. And, that's important when you get to college and you think, oh, I want to apply for an internship. How do I do that? Maybe you need to go talk to one of your college professors. And if you've never had a close relationship with a teacher before, that can be very intimidating. So that's something that I found really useful, is I knew how to properly and appropriately communicate with adults. In terms of leadership positions, I'm the vice president of Duke Presidential Ambassadors. So that's an organization that serves the office of the Duke president by leading tours and hosting special events and also staffing events. So that's something that I think I immediately jumped into and applied for when I was a freshman in college, because I knew that I really enjoyed that service aspect that I learned about through IB. And I also just think it's really nice to have a closer knit community of people. I got used to that in high school with the IB program, and so I wanted that in college as well. And then I also think, I guess, I don't know if this is the most relevant, but I think something great about IB, not to bring it back to writing again, but like you learn how to write in different disciplines, and that can be useful in extracurricular positions as well. Like, for example, Peyton, I'm sure Peyton's had to write reports of some sort, like as a PR major. And so it's good she knows how to do that because of IB, at least to some degree.
I think one of the skills that I really garnered that has made me successful in my collegiate career is presentation skills. Presenting is not something that comes super naturally to me. It actually really terrifies me and gives me a lot of anxiety. But desensitizing yourself because you have to through, I don't know, I think it was the IOP, you have the Spanish presentation, you have your theory of knowledge presentation, forcing yourself to learn how to present effectively is really important. And communication is really important. I've had a slew of interviews the past couple of weeks, and I think that bolstering your presentation skills also really allows you to be a great interviewer as well.
For me, when I came into high school, I was really shy and just like kind of did my own thing. And then when I left, like after doing the IB program and everything, I fully like came out of my shell and like found my people. And like I would say I fully transformed like who I was and like for the best. And I think that ultimately really helped me in college because applying for all those club positions in high school is ultimately like what led me to apply for the positions in college. And like in my sorority, I did a lot of philanthropy events, and I also did clubs with philanthropy in high school. So they kind of like tied in together. So just being able to like fully like step out of my shell and like push myself to apply for these positions, which like I ultimately got from IB, is what helped me in college.
I just really quickly before we move on want to like doubly echo what Abby said. You will have to do interviews for something in college. I don't care if
All
you're
the time.
pre-med. I don't care if you're pre-law. I don't know if you want to go into business. Whatever it is, you will have to do an interview for a pre-professional organization on campus, a service organization on campus, maybe for a job or an internship. Having that understanding of how to properly communicate and speak to an audience, it's very, very important. And that's something that you learn in IB before you ever get to college. So take advantage of that. It's important. And I don't think any of us realized how important that was while we were in high school until we went to college and we were like, oh, wow, you have to interview for lots of things. And we're glad we're able to speak in a professional manner.
I don't think any of us realize, just because, you know, when you're in high school, you can just join a club. It's not hard. In college, you have to apply to almost every club you join, and there's an application process and an interview process. And a lot of clubs are very selective and competitive. So through the IB program and through our constant presentations we had to do and just bolstering our presentation skills and abilities, as what Caroline and Abby both said, it made us so much more prepared for all of these competitive interview processes we had to do to get into these clubs in college.
Also, even in a lesser sense, the presentations don't end. Like that's just not something that ends in general. You're gonna have to do it in college. You're gonna have to inevitably do it when you're in your career. Presentations don't end. Those skills need to constantly be getting better and better and better. And you know, really trying to focus on that skill in high school, I think will be incredible for you guys in the future.
I don't know if you guys remember Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His sister actually went through the IB program. She graduated last year. And Ben said that the one thing that he appreciated about IB is he went to his first class as a college student. They had to do a group presentation. And he said he looked around at the whole class like, who are you? Because he was the only one who knew how to present in his class. He said they were so boring. He said he really appreciated how, you know, how he learned to present and the presentation skills he gained.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that because he echoed that as well.
And I don't know about Ms. Jones, but I'm actually sitting here having a very teary, surreal moment to look out at our current IB students and to think about you girls here 5 years ago, and now you're on the cusp of graduating and these fabulous post-secondary careers that you hoped and dreamed about. Now, I will say that I can only speak for Abby, but Abby changed her major like 100 times in college so far.
About it, they know.
Yeah, I arrived late, I'm sorry, but I mean, for us as a faculty, it's extraordinarily gratifying to remember what you all were like coming through as juniors and seniors, and then to see the product of, you know, the small place that Ms. Jones and I had in that, but in the larger sense, what your peers in the IB program have done for you, and just the strategies that are inherent in all the IB classes and what we aspire for you to come out of that program with, and to see it 5 years later. I mean, I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes, girls.
You know what's even more insane, Dr. V? Peyton turns 22 tomorrow, and me and Caroline turn 22 next week.
It's absolutely disgusting. We're getting so old. I'm terrified. I truly feel like just yesterday I was 18 years old in the IB program, hanging out with you guys after school in the Venice High parking lot, complaining about life, being like, I can't wait to get out of this town. And now I'm out of it and I miss it.
And that's actually what those four specialized in, complaining about things and wanting to get out of this town.
I ran 4 states away. I mean, there's no limit on how far you can go.
Totally took my questions. I'm sorry, did we talk about some other people? You guys want to talk about some of your peers and where you know? Because I know Caroline, you can talk about
Jack and stuff like that, just kind of give an idea about where some of the paths of other IB kids have gone to at this point?
I can speak for, I think, Ben Dubin. Ben Dubin is pre-med at University of Florida. He's majoring in nutritional sciences and getting a minor in business. He is doing absolutely awesome. I know Ben was probably not the best student in high school, but I feel like
in college.
yeah, he's really blossomed in college. He's really driven and a real go-getter. And I think he's going to go to an incredible medical school. He's super involved on campus. And, Ben is just doing amazing.
He started doing research literally as a freshman in undergrad, which I think is incredibly impressive and just shows how much of a go-getter he became. And I think the lessons he learned in the IB program, even though it might have not seemed like he was taking them in at the time, he very utilized them when he started college.
I can also talk about Madison Culligan. Madison Culligan was actually afforded the opportunity to graduate early, a full year early, because of the credits she got in the IB program. And she's currently in grad school for school psychology. So she's at FSU in grad school as a 22-year-old, and she's doing awesome too. I know she constantly talks about how Dr. Valencic's class specifically set her up for success because her major was very psychology oriented, and just being able to read those studies effectively really helped her in college. And I'm not just saying that because Dr. V's in the room. She really says this to me constantly. Like, I can't believe Dr. V really set me up for success. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's awesome.
And we still all love Madison, and we're close with her as well. Yeah. So I actually met my significant other through the IB program. I'm not saying that will happen for everybody, but we're still together. He went to Florida State. His name's Jack, and he graduated in 3 years because of the credits from the IB program. And he actually just yesterday got a full-time job. He's going to be a world history teacher at Charlotte High. So he's very excited about that. Again, maybe a student who wasn't always the most engaged with the IB program at the time, but he tells me now he's so glad that he did it. He honestly thinks that IB was a lot harder than the majority of his college classes. And, graduated a year early, has a full-time job in the educational system. That's kind of ironic, but we're all very proud of him, and he's doing very well.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know Donovan Harrison, he graduated a year early from USF, and he's currently enrolled at UF Pharmacy. Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting for him. He, once again, IB allowed him to graduate early, and he's pursuing postgraduate work at UF, which is amazing. He went to, USF undergrad. I'm not sure if I mentioned that.
And I know Maddie Payton is graduating on time, but she just got a full-time position with NextEra Energy. I believe she's some sort of engineering undergrad, but that's a great company, and I'm really excited for her.
And then Emily Barrett, I don't think she graduated early. She went to USF. She's pre-med, so she's taking a gap year and then will be applying to med school, and I'm sure she'll go to a fabulous school. She's very, very smart. And then Jessica Gonzalez went to Stanford, and she just took the LSAT at the same time as me. So I'm not sure if she's applying to law school this year or next year, but on the pre-law track at Stanford.
It's funny, I'm watching you, and what I'm thinking is, boy, you really benefited from those Socratics. I mean, because that's what they're doing, right? Is they're following that format, and they're, having a conversation, using those skills. So, yeah. See. Thank you, Ms. Jones. You're welcome. Do you guys have any last? We have about 5 minutes left. Do you guys have any last words or anything that you want to say that maybe we haven't asked about? Or I'm sorry, say, did you have a question?
Yeah, so it was mentioned earlier that when in the IB program you get closer with your teachers and have good relationships with them, and then when you go to college that's not the same. Was that more difficult, that transition between being close to your teachers and then these professors that you have 100 kids to teach and you aren't as close with them?
So I'll maybe start this one off just because I think I might have had a different experience given that Duke is much smaller than UF. Duke has about 7,000 undergraduate students, so it's pretty small. I will say that the majority of my classes were under 50 students, maybe even under 40 students. So for me, I didn't really have a transition to where I was in these giant lecture style classes for the most part. I will say that you need to put in more effort if you want to maintain, or even, I guess, just grow in the first place, some strong relationships with professors, which I highly encourage. I'm not saying you have to do that with every single professor, but if you do want to go to a graduate school, potentially, even if you're not sure, just if you're thinking about it, or if, you know, even if you plan on applying for a job, you'll still need to put down references, even if it's not a full letter of recommendation. So I would do your best to really try to use those skills that hopefully you're learning in IB, which is how to speak to a teacher, you know, and build a connection, and take that with you to college. And then hopefully create maybe like 2 or 3 close relationships with professors to where you feel comfortable approaching them with questions, not even necessarily just about their class, but like about life in general, and make sure that you have people that you're comfortable asking for references or for letters of recommendation.
I agree.
found-
A lot of it's like your own initiative, like to meet professors, and you can go to office hours and stay after class. They do make it really accessible to talk to them. You just have to take your own initiative to do it. And also a great reference in some cases is sponsors for clubs, or like people that oversee the clubs. And that's a way to be in a smaller setting and still be able to make that connection with a professor or someone different that could possibly write that letter of recommendation.
And while I feel that UF is a large state school, I feel that a lot of my classes also, I think especially when I was a junior and senior, was my upper level classes, they did get particularly smaller. Like a lot of my classes now have around like less than 30 kids. Some of them have like 15 kids. So in these smaller environments, I am still able, I think, to make genuine connections with my professors. And I think the best ways to do that is just make sure you show up to class early, maybe like get a couple words in before everyone else shows up. Don't be afraid to reach out to them, whether it's talking to them after class about an assignment, emailing them, and just being as communicative as possible, and just being like the amazing students that you are. Because if you're able to form these connections now, teachers see your high school teachers see something in you, and your professors are going to see those exact same things in you. Like teachers gravitate towards you guys for a reason and create those relationships for a reason. And I still found that while the connections I made with my college professors weren't on the same level as my high school professors, just by the nature of only having someone for a semester, whereas in the IB program, there were some teachers I had for 1, 2, or 3 whole years. Like you can't emulate that connection. However, I still had many teachers approach me after a semester and be like, Peyton, you were a joy to have in this class. If you need a rec letter for anything, please reach out to me. And yeah, I think it's just by putting in the effort, because there's a lot of lazy people in college, even at UF. Like people burn out and people stop putting in the work. So as long as you maintain your consistency and maintain your strong work ethic, teachers are going to see that, teachers are going to admire it, and you're going to be able to build those connections.
Not to be a complete Debbie Downer at the end, but I do not resonate with anything that my friends are saying. I was completely distraught almost through the entirety of college, because I didn't have that, mentorship aspect that I was really, reliant upon in high school. I think me and Dr. V have been connected since then, so I've relied on her a lot. But my finance class, my junior year, was 1,100 kids. There's just no way you can create that connection with the professor. He's just not going to remember your name. He's not going to know who you are. So I really found my mentorship in, extracurriculars, not necessarily on campus involvement, but with my job. So I worked at a local real estate firm. I relied on, mentorship there. Even reaching out to alumni through LinkedIn and stuff like that, that sort of mentorship was something that I really connected with, but I never really had throughout college that, professorial, guide to look up to. And I think that really maintaining your connections with your high school teachers has really gotten me through college when I need advice. And I think even, just looking to your parents when you need advice, or looking to your friends is really important. Having mentorship with your friends and having really stellar friends who want the best for you, who are also super driven and super awesome, relying on them and your network in that way is really imperative. But, if you go to a large school like UF, and you major in something like business, just know that you're probably not going to have that mentorship aspect that you have in high school.
Well, we'd like to thank you guys for coming, but there's a group at the back that has something to say.
Oh gosh.
Go, guys.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Laura. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, and Miss Jones, just before we finish up, I wanted to say, I don't know if these are juniors or seniors or where you're at, like in your high school journey, but if any of you are ever interested in potentially applying to Duke, or you just want to hear more about the school, Miss Jones and Dr. V, they both have my email. I would be so happy to like take 15-20 minutes, tell you about the school and about the application process in general. I know it can be very intimidating applying to school out of state, and it's scary. So if you ever want someone to speak to about that, I would be so happy to. And I'm sure the other girls would be happy to do that about UF as well.
Same here with UF. If you guys need resume reviews, I've done a lot of them over the past year. If you guys need anything whatsoever, if you want to complain, shoot me an email. I'll take it all in. I'll give you some advice. Whatever you guys need, we are here for you. Even though you don't know us, we stand with you. We understand the struggle and the strife. But embrace it. And I hope you guys do amazing things in the future. And I know that if you're in this program, you probably will.
Yes, agreed. And if you all have any questions about like the college application process, or if you've already applied, just what to expect with everything, once again, you have our emails. I would be happy to help you guys, or just to be a voice to, like, if you want someone who's older, who was in the IB program, who attended UF, just want someone else to talk to get advice from, I'm always here.
Me too. Like, we fully understand everything you're going through. So if you guys ever need to talk, or just honestly anything about the program, anything about college, just reach out to us. We're more than happy to help.
It's been awesome talking to everyone.
Thank you for taking your time to come in and talk to us. We really appreciate it.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Wait, Abby, if you have a minute, I have a student that wanted to ask you a question specifically. So maybe you could just wait for a second, and then I'm gonna release everybody else and stop the recording. So let me go ahead and do that. It's been great seeing you. I'm so excited.
Me too. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.